welcome to In the Public Interest. I'm your host, Ryan Lillienthal. If you're listening to us, we're coming at you live on WIMG 1300 AM. If you're watching us, we're coming to you on Mercer, Channel 25, WZBN, and we can be found on the World Wide Web at WIMG1300.com. I am pleased to have with me tonight Tony Robinson, who is an exciting artist, graphic novelist, musician, jazz gospel, singer, songwriter. He's a model and an educator. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here in Trenton. Just wanted to begin getting a little background about you and what inspires you. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised there. And I am currently a resident of Somerset, New Jersey. I've been out here for about 10 years now.
And you have this very diverse, I'll just call it creative professional career. And I'm just wondering, when did that all begin?
Oh, when I was a child. I think before I was a child. I was, for as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be an artist. So it really started with the visual arts, and I've always wanted to be a comic book artist, what we call now a graphic novelist. And from there, I developed a love of music, which I have my family to thank for that, my mother and father, because they played such good music in the house all the time. So I was always exposed to jazz and gospel and blues, and I just developed a love for all of it. And from there, I developed a love for acting and theater. So ever since I was a child, I grew up with a love for the arts.
Now you've got a lot of, I guess what I would call neat and interesting successes in your career.
Yeah.
You have published graphic novels.
Mm-hmm.
You've performed with some really neat people and gotten to know some really famous artists, and you're on your way, musicians.
Thank you.
And we're going to get to hear some of your some clips of your music a little later on.
Okay.
But you mentioned growing up and getting some good exposure to music from your parents. What do you listen to? What did you listen to growing up?
Oh, wow. Well, initially, my father was a big blues man, so initially it was a lot of blues. So I heard a lot of Ray Charles and Little Milton and Muddy Waters and Billie Holiday and people like that. And then, because the music, I don't know, to my young ears, all the music was interconnected. So, and I listened to a lot of soul music, so a lot of it was Marvin Gaye and Aretha Franklin, and then, having the church background, it all was interconnected for me. So, I loved Reverend James Cleveland, and I loved, I'm, dating myself a little, but I loved the Hawkins family. I loved the Clark sisters, and just, on and on. And then I could hear elements of jazz in a lot of what I was hearing, and I developed a love of jazz. And so I grew up listening to a whole variety of music, and I think back then on the radio, you could listen to one station and hear all these different things at the same time. It wasn't like, this is the hip-hop station, this is the gospel station, this is the blues station. You can tune into one, and you could get everything all in one. And so I grew up, in New York, you would hear Moody's Mood for Love every night at 8 o'clock, on, one of the New York stations. And it was just a beautiful experience, just, having all of this music and just kind of surrounding me all my life.
Yeah, and, we've done some talking. Early on, you, I guess based on this exposure that you got, you decided to direct your life in the music performing arts path.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that even as early as high school, you were kind of devoting yourself in that direction. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, before that, yeah, I was always in someone's choir. I was in the choir since I was a kid, and junior high school, I joined a performing arts magnet school called the Meyer Levin Performing Arts Magnet School in Brooklyn, New York, and that was my first exposure to theater, and they actually brought me to my some of my first Broadway shows. I think the first Broadway show, and I'm going to date myself again, I can't help it, it was The Wiz on Broadway. I actually got to see Stephanie Mills on Broadway singing in The Wiz, and it was one of the most amazing things. And then followed by Sophisticated Ladies, which was Gregory Hines and Phyllis Hyman. Amazing, you know. I was just, you know, mesmerized by it, and so that hooked me in, you know. That hooked me in, and in high school, I tried to stay away from it for a couple of years, thinking I'm going to focus just on, you know, school. You know, I got this scholarship to a private high school in New York, and I said, well, I'm going to focus on academics, you know, because listening to different guidance counselors around me, you know, I got the impression that the arts was not a lucrative way to go. It was not something I could make a living at. And so I had to be more practical. And so I tried to set my young mind into doing less artistic things and more academic things in a business sense of, I guess you call it, liberal arts sense. But I couldn't stay away from it. So I wound up joining the choir again, and, you know, joined the chamber choir, learned more about classical music. In college, I was president of the gospel choir at Brandeis. I was the male vocalist of the jazz ensemble with Ricky Ford, who was an excellent, legendary jazz saxophone player. And he introduced me to a number of jazz legends like Cecil McBee, James Spaulding, Jimmy Knepper, you know, a lot of great guys. And
I want to pick up, you know, talking about, you know, great guys, great musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about inspiration and the fact that you mentioned you know, you had to get back to it.
Yeah.
What is it about, you know, the music, the performance, the arts? What is it that makes it an experience for you, that you're pulled? What is it about the music and the performance for you?
Well, you know, I had a director in a play once who told me, you know, when it's in you, it's in you. It's in your blood, it's in your blood. You can't define it necessarily. It's just a part of who you are. I think that this is, it's just a part of who I am, you know, how we all are, we're all blessed by God in many ways. We all have talents and gifts that we need to put forth. We need to really put that out into the light. We can't hide it under a bushel. You know, when you have talents and gifts, you need to share that with the world. And there's just a pull and a tug that you have to do it. You can't hide it. Like I tried to hide it in 2 years in high school, and it was just like, I gotta. And
it's the music, it's the drawing, all of that.
Yeah, all of it. The graphic novel that I do, the Descendants, the music, the jazz, the gospel, all of that is what I do. The theater, you know, I'm in a play at the Growing Stage Theater of in New Jersey, the Children's Theater of New Jersey, and it's a Christmas play called The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, and I get to play this really incredible role called the Great Auk.
It sounds like a Dr. Seuss type of.
Well, yeah, you could say that. It's actually written by L. Frank Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, and this was one of his earlier works. And we get to put it out on stage, and audiences so far are loving it. And we're running through December 19th. So, anyone's interested, go to GrowingStage.com and check it out. And so, yeah, it's a pull that, you know, I have to do. Same thing with gospel. I have to sing for the Lord. I have to do that. God gives me everything that I am. He is everything that I am. You know, I can't talk about it without getting emotional, but, you know, God is everything that I am. And, you know, I'm doing the gospel concert on December 19th at Unity Fellowship Church of New Brunswick, ufcnb.org, directed by Mickey Braden, who you asked about, one of my inspirations. She's an amazing inspiration. And she's an artist herself, starring as Bessie Smith, one of the earlier performers I heard as a child. in a play about Bessie Smith's life. So you could look Mickey Braden up online too and find out more about her.
We're going to get to hear a piece of your music.
Yeah.
But before we take the break into that, if someone wants to find out more about all of the stuff that you do, where can they go? What's your website?
My website is www.descendantsproductions.com. Descendants, like the name of my graphic novel, DESCENDANTS. Now, I hope I spelled that right.
And on that website, they can find out about your work as
as a graphic novelist, as an actor, as a singer, a songwriter, as a model, as an educator. You can find out just a little bit about me, and you could email me too. My contact information is on there.
Okay, great. And so we're going to play the piece, and we're going to talk about the piece after we hear it.
All right.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Ryan. All right.
Great.
Sometimes we all feel sad. Sometimes we all feel pain. Sometimes the things we feel are hard to explain. But don't you forget that pain don't last always. Through all those tearful nights, I promise brighter days. So just remember through your worries and through all your pain and fears, there's a ray of light inside you that can wipe away your tears. So you don't have to cry. You don't have to cry. You don't have to fear. You don't have to fear. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to cry. You don't have to cry. You don't have to fear. You don't have to fear. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry anymore. It's hard to be patient. The waiting seems so long, and through all that waiting, you try to be strong. So just remember through the heartaches and through all the ups and downs, there's a smile that's deep inside you that will wipe away your frowns. So you don't have to cry.
Imagine adding the look of rock, stack, stone, or brick to your home or commercial building, but at a fraction of the cost and without the hassle. Imagine completing your project in hours rather than days, and without the need for a mason. Genstone offers a panel system that takes the hassle and cost out of installation and gives you the look of rock, stacked stone, or brick at a price you won't believe. If you can work with carpentry tools, you can install Genstone from the box to the wall in minutes. Genstone looks like real stone, but unlike stone, Genstone is lightweight and waterproof, and Genstone adds additional insulation value to your walls or foundation. For free information, call 888-303-9136. Whether for residential or commercial buildings, add the look of rock, brick, or stacked stone at a fraction of the cost and without the hassle. Call 888-303-9136 today. Genstone, the beauty of stone made easy. 888-303-9136.
Lillienthal. You're listening to us on WIMG 1300 AM. If you're watching us, you're seeing us on Mercer Channel 25 WZBN, and you can find us on the World Wide Web at WIMG1300.com. I am here with Tony Robinson, and we've been talking about his really interesting and amazing career, eclectic career as an artist, graphic novelist, musician, the model, educator, and before the break we heard a song that you both wrote and sang, and you were telling us during the break it's a song that's, you know, with kids in the background. What is the context for this piece?
Oh, well, okay. Years ago, when I worked with an organization called Creative Arts Workshops for Kids, which was an organization that worked with displaced young people, children, and their families in the New York area, in the 5 boroughs of New York, and we were based in Harlem. I worked there. That was probably one of the first jobs I ever had, and we do weekly workshops. We did weekly workshops with them, based in the visual arts and in music. And one of the projects that I came up with was to do a recording with them. So I wrote this song called "You Don't Have to Cry Anymore." And Green Street Studios in Manhattan was kind enough to donate their time to the recording of the song. They gave us free reign, you know, and studio space, and we recorded that song in a day. It was a fantastic project. The kids came in. We had about 10 to 12 kids come in and record with me, and we just knocked the song out, you know. And it was just meant to be something to raise consciousness, raise attention, and to inspire people, especially kids, and especially kids who are from abused homes. They're from abused homes. They're from homeless situations. They're from some very tough situations. We had, you know, children with HIV. We had children in abusive situations, and it was just another way to try to get them involved in something positive, inspirational, which is pretty much the crux of my whole career. You know, everything I do, from the music to the art to the modeling to the theater, everything that I do, I try to make it a part of a positive arts ministry. Is how I see it.
And in terms of this particular production, the song itself, did you write it knowing what it was going to be used for, who was going to sing it?
Well, I knew who was going to sing it. I knew, and I actually didn't think I was going to sing it when I so the voice you hear on there is mine in the lead, and the kids also in the background. But I fully intended on, you know, trying to get some singer to do it. But the way situations worked out, it was, you know, I was there, the kids were there. We just knocked it out, and so I knew who was going to sing it. I knew the kids were going to sing it. I didn't know where it would wind up, and it actually sat on the shelf for the past 17 years, because I wrote it that long ago, a little over 17 years ago, until some kids in my current church, Unity Fellowship Church of New Brunswick, Pastor Kevin E. Taylor, Fasta, shout out. They said, well, you know, they happened to hear it kind of by accident, and my little godson Zion was like, well, why don't you record this? We want to do this with you. Can you, do it again? So we're trying to resurrect the song, I guess. Yeah. So it's actually doing, maybe it'll be some help to another generation of kids.
Now, you mentioned during the break that the kids that perform in this recording, that some viewers might know, or have some connection to those kids.
Okay.
You mentioned that they had designed a mural.
Ah, yes, right. One of the things that the kids of Creative Arts Workshops might be known for is a mural that they designed on the side of the 124th Street Post Office in Harlem. And that mural was the inspiration behind the mural that they featured on the opening credits of the last season or two of The Cosby Show. If you remember that season where you see the wall and the kind of the mural on the wall and everyone's dancing in front of it, that mural was inspired by the work that the kids did on the 124th Street post office wall. It's a huge mural called The Street of Dreams, El Calle de
I remember
Sueños.
that.
Yeah. And it's not there anymore. It was taken up by corporations who wanted a supermarket or some crazy stuff. But the kids were all great kids, and I'm sure they're all grown now. But they were just some of the most creative, wonderful kids I've ever worked with.
Now, you've indicated that you've devoted your life to this inspirational work, to working with kids, and part of that is being a graphic designer. You write comic books,
Right?
And you've brought a couple of books.
Yeah.
And so we'll go from the visual art of the kids,
Okay.
to Tony Robinson's visual arts.
All right.
I'm going to hold this up, and hopefully. This is what I'm showing is the first.
That's the first issue, of the Descendants, the origin issue, and the Descendants basically is a positive superhero graphic novel featuring 4 characters of African and Latino descent, and the basic premise of the book is that these 4 characters use their everyday lives to aid the world. They live such positive lives that God then chooses these 4 individuals to be given heightened powers so that they can continue to do the work of aiding the world, of tackling different social issues and doing positive things, but this time with superpowers.
And so in the story, if you can mention the names of the characters and some of the situations that they confront.
Some of the situations that they confront have to do with racism or prejudice in general, and drugs, guns, gangs. And the next book that's coming up, number 3, is coming out soon. And so far the date is May. It should be coming out. But the 3rd graphic novel that's coming out, they'll be meeting a new group called the Yes Brigade. Yes standing for Youth Empowered by Spirit Brigade. And these are characters of different racial, ethnic backgrounds from around the world that also lend their lives to doing positive things with their lives, and because of the way they live their lives so positively, they're endowed with heightened powers, and then they join the Descendants and then tackle a bunch of different issues around the world.
Let me just just get another visual image out here and see your artistic skill. This is your second book?
That's the second book, which was published. It was reissued in 2008 by Dare Books. You can go to darebooks.com.
Oh, can I do the back side of that?
Sure.
Does that have a?
Yeah, that's Dare Books. That's their ad. That's their spot.
So if assuming you could not read the back of the cover, it's www.darebooks, D-A-R-E,
books,
B-O-O-K-S.com.
Yeah.
How'd you get into writing graphic novels? How'd that happen?
Oh, I've been a comic book nerd since I was 4, and I've been collecting comic books since whenever, and I still have a nice collection of old comic books. Funny story, my mother will kill me, but like many young kids, my mom sold my books to this guy at a street sale, like old comic books, long time ago, for like $10. And she just, she didn't know that it could be worth something someday. But I was destroyed. I came home and found like all these old comic books gone. Like this guy he got off with like Spider-Man, like the first Spider-Man meets the Punisher, like for like $1 or something like that. It was something crazy, but like collector's items
painful.
books. Yeah, painful stuff. But I've been a comic book guy since I was a baby.
What do you think it is about comic books that lends itself to social messages? I mean, I think I think of Superman, Captain America, created by Jewish immigrants, and their response to Nazi Germany. What is it about this media that
well, it's
a source of the message?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole a lot of good versus evil, and you want good to prevail. It's a microcosm of a larger world, and it's a way to express that we all want justice and peace to prevail. We want those positive qualities, those things that are best about us to shine through. And comic books have always been that way to put that message out there for everyone, from the youngest to the oldest, and we can all enjoy it. I mean, as you see, like in major motion pictures made out of, comic books that we read when we were children.
Why do you think drawing, the comic book style drawing, is there something about that helps convey the message, or in thinking about the descendants, thinking about who the possible intended audience is? I mean, you indicate that it's not just for kids; it's for adults.
Yeah.
Yet most of us think of comics as something, a kid will pick up and read. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're asking what is it that cuts across the board?
What is the quality of this style of communication, comics? That
it's fantasy. It's like it's fantasy. You can do things with this that you can't do in real life. It's like watching animation sometimes. You can experience things that you cannot really experience in real life. Or that you would like to experience in real life, but you wouldn't dare. But comic books, gives you an opportunity to let your imagination fly, and if you're willing to take the ride, you really have a great experience with it.
In addition to actually, let me before we leave the Descendants, why the title? Why the Descendants?
The Descendants. Well, on a comic book level, I was thinking of I wanted a group. I knew I wanted a group of characters. And I thought of groups like the Fantastic Four and the Justice League and the Defenders and the Avengers. But on a spiritual side, I needed it to be about God. God needed to be the central focus of this book. And so I thought, it just came to me. It was the descendants. We are the descendants of a mighty king. We are the descendants, and that's a worthy title for a group of super powered people doing the work of God in the world.
It's like a force that runs through one generation to another, from parents to children,
exactly,
to their children.
Right. Exactly. So that long after these descendants are gone, it will carry on and on. And actually, that's one of the main messages of the book, that the work that they do with their lives will be remembered generation after generation for descendants to come, and that we all are descendants. It's not just these four characters.
And it's interesting that you've chosen the name of the comic as the name of your website, which in a sense is packaging everything that you do.
Yeah.
We only have a minute left.
Okay.
I want to,
Wow,
having
goes
spoken,
fast.
having spoken about the Descendants,
Okay.
again, for our viewers and our listeners, if someone wants to find out about the Descendants or find out about Tony Robinson as a musician, as a writer, where can they go?
Descendants Productions, that's DESCENDANTS Productions.com. And you can find information about me, what I do in all areas of the arts, and you could check me out by email. My email is on there, and I'd be glad to receive all emails. You know, I'm also on Facebook, and you could probably catch me at the local Comic-Cons in New York and New Jersey as well.
Great. Tony, it's been great having you. I've been having Tony Robinson as my guest on In the Public Interest. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.